Alright, so let's be honest. How many times have you jumped into the airplane and realized that you forgot to set up your iPad? Well, that's why pro tip number 2 is create a flow check for setting up your iPad in the cockpit. For our flow check, we created an acronym called FIAT, and I found it works quite well. The basic idea is to work from the outside of the iPad inward. First, we turn on and place our peripherals, your GPS or Stratus box, etc. Then we set up the iPad hardware itself. We attach the iPad to its mounts or plug in the external power if you use it. For the iOS, we turn to the software. We go into the settings and place the iPad in airplane mode, and then we re-enable our Bluetooth or any other external antennas that we might need. We'll then make sure that automatic locking is disabled. And then we'll set up the apps, first by closing any apps that we don't need, and by launching any in-flight apps that you're going to want access to. When you've done all of this, the last item is to bring up the taxi diagram, so it's going to be ready to go. So for the peripherals, we also want to set up our GPS, our XM Weather Stratus box, or whatever other external devices we have. Sometimes the GPS will not get a good signal when it's placed on the glare shield, especially in jets due to heated windshields and avionics. You can see here, we had to put the GPS near a passenger window to get it to work. For the hardware, we need to make sure that it is mounted and that the external power is plugged in if we're using it. Now, for the iOS, the first thing we're going to do is go into settings. I'm going to scroll up to the top here to go into airplane mode. When I turn airplane mode on, that turns off all of the external antennas. And then I'm going to work a flow check top to bottom under my general settings. The first thing, and this is for my configuration, I'm going to go into Bluetooth because I fly with a DualX GPS 150. I'll need to turn it on from the device list there. Then I'll scroll down, make sure the auto lock is never. I make sure that lock rotation is checked. Multitasking gestures, I make sure that's turned on. I use that when I'm flying. And then I scroll down to the bottom. Remember, this is my top to bottom general settings flow. Then what I'm going to do is hit the home button. And now what I want to do is set up my app. So I'm going to hit the home button twice, which brings up my most recently used app list. I'm going to hold down settings. And you can see here now these icons have a red badge in the upper left-hand corner. By tapping that, that closes the apps that I don't need. Now I want Jeppesen Mobile Flight Deck, so I'm going to keep that one, but I'm going to close the remote app next to it. Then when I'm done with this, I'll hit the home button. I'll hit the home button again. I'll go into my aviation folder. I'm going to bring up ForeFlight because I'll use that during this flight. And the next thing that I want to do is bring up the taxi diagram. So to do that, I'll tap the nav log button at the top. I'm going to tap KSQL, which is my departure airport, San Carlos. I get this nice window up here. I punch the taxi diagram button. And now that I have my taxi diagram up, I'm going to rotate the iPad from landscape to portrait. So now that I have it up, I'm just going to take my fingers, zoom in the taxi diagram. Perfect. And the upper right hand corner, I'll tap the lock button. And that's how we use the FIAT flow check.